My name is Bill, Mr. President Tickner. I'm the Vice President of Aldo West. I'm really excited to kick off our panel discussion about the 2025 Diversity Scholarship Program from Aldo West in partnership with Treeline Review, our awesome partner, and the place you should go to when you're looking to learn more about the gear you should use on trail. All right, let me present. All right, so we're here today to learn a little bit more about the All the West Diversity Scholarship Program and hear from two of our winners from 2024, Hannah Chingarande and Cameron Shropshire. You guys want to give me a little wave? All right. And of course, we'll be having Liz Snorkel Thomas from Treeline Review moderate the panel discussion as well. All right, but before we get started, I want to talk a little bit about who is All the West. I know some of you on the call here today maybe have applied for the scholarship this year, or you're here just to learn a little bit more about the program. But All the West is a nonprofit, and our mission is to inspire, educate, and promote fellowship among long-distance hikers and those who support long-distance hiking. We've been around since 1995. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. And just to talk a little bit about, some of the things we do throughout the year to accomplish our mission. Here you can see we have a number of in-person events that we both put on ourselves and participate in. So on the screen here, you see in blue, those are our pre-hiking season rucks. And what those are in-person events. Every year we do one of them in the Bay Area, one in the Pacific Northwest, and one out in Colorado. And we have speakers, we do pack shakedowns. These are events that help hikers prepare for the long distance trails they're going to hike throughout hiking season. In pink, those are trail days. So those are specific trails. We have a Pacific Crest Trail, the PCT days, and the Continental Divide Trail days. Trail orgs put those two events on themselves, but we go there and participate and represent our org at those events. So we can see you there if you end up going to one of those events. And then, of course, in purple is our annual gathering. That's our end of hiking season event. It's usually about a weekend long. It's a camp out session typically. And this end of season gathering is really a chance for hikers to come together from all over the country and celebrate hiking season. So essentially, this year we're going to be having it in Colorado, which we're very excited about. This event rotates between the Bay Area, the Pacific Northwest, and Colorado. But since last year we had it in the Bay Area, we're going to have it in Colorado this year. We're really excited. At that gathering, we actually award the Triple Crown Award. This is one of the many things that we do to support hikers. But so for folks who have hiked the Appalachian Trail and the Pacific Crest Trail and the Continental Divide Trail, so 3 long distance trails in the United States that total about 8,000 miles. So for folks who complete all 3 of those trails, we award them the Triple Crown. And that's actually, we have a big ceremony at the gathering every year. It's really fun. This year, we'll be opening applications for that in June. And again, you can come in person or we can even mail you the award later on. And this is a picture from our gathering this past year. But again, we have the dates up here. This will be September 26th to 28th in Jamestown, Colorado, later this year. Oh, also, you should know that we have at all of our in-person events, we have legendary gear raffles. So if you come to our events, between speakers, between talks and breakout sessions, we raffle off some amazing gear, and that's provided by our sponsors. We work with all sorts of amazing companies that help make the gear that long-distance hikers need to complete their trails. All right, onto the scholarship program itself. So this program was actually created in 2024. We here at Aldo West raised, we were able to get money from a grant and through some donations. And what we've done is every year we take some of that grant money and we create 4 scholarships. They're awarded to 4 BIPAC hikers, so Black, Indigenous, and other people of color hikers. Each recipient that ends up winning their scholarship will get $2,500 in cash and an ultralight gear package from our Triple Crown sponsors. Okay, so for requirements, just to clarify some of that, we've had some questions about like what is the minimum requirements to apply for the scholarship. So you must be 18 plus, but there's no maximum age. You can be as old as you want, as old as you want. Applicants must intend to complete a through hike of 150 miles or more. Completion, though, is not required. So you just need to intend to do that hike. We know at All the West, you know, folks who embark on a long distance hike, things can happen. You might get injured, weather might be an issue, snowpack might be an issue. So as long as you intend to do that through hike and make a good effort to do that, that's all that matters. If you don't complete the hike, you still get to keep the money and the gear. We also need a United States address to send the check and the gear package to. Just a little clarification on the application itself. It's only about 6 questions. It should take you about an hour to get through. You don't need to write a full essay to apply. It's really designed to make it accessible for anybody, whether you've had a lot of experience hiking or whether this is your first ever long distance hike. The application is designed to be accessible to anyone to apply. So if you do receive the scholarship, recipients are encouraged to provide trip reports. So and provide social media posts about your experience, but we don't require it. We understand that some folks may not be comfortable sharing their experience, so that's not required. But we will help facilitate that if that's something you are comfortable with. All right, quick program timeline. So the application process will close on 2/15. So you still have to, if you haven't applied yet, there's still time to do so now. After 2/22, we're going to narrow down from the applications that we have down to top 10 finalists, and we'll notify you. The last week of February, we plan on conducting 30-minute virtual finalist interviews. And then sometime after March 1st, we have planned to announce the winners. Now let's talk a little bit about what you're going to win. You'll get the $2,500 in cash, which you can use for any purpose. If you need to use it to, pay for your apartment while you're hiking, you can do that. We have no requirements on how you spend that money, right? But we are also going to provide an ultralight gear package, which is really exciting. Our sponsors that we work with, these are companies that design gear to help people specifically hike longer distance trails. So you might go to REI or an outdoor gear store and you'll see different types of gear, but it's not always designed for long distance hiking. Long distance hiking gear typically needs to be strong, lightweight, and very high quality. And it can be expensive. So we've got a set of sponsors here that not only do they align with our values at All the West, and they really believe in what we're trying to accomplish with this program, but they also are excited to help get these hikers on trail. And I should take a step back here for a moment. I didn't mention this earlier, but why are we doing this scholarship program? We've noticed that All the West, we've been around since 1995, as I said before, but we do have an underrepresentation of people of color, of BIPOC members, both on trail and in our org. So the purpose of the scholarship is to help welcome more people of color and BIPOC hikers into our organization. We know there's a host of reasons why there is underrepresentation, and our org really doesn't have the power to change some of those things, but we certainly can do something about welcoming more people of color into our org. And again, our sponsors here are in line with that mission and in that goal of the program. So now you see the logos here, but let's go get a little more specific about what these folks are going to provide to help you get on trail. So we have a tent sponsor, which is the Six Moon Designs. They're providing a tent and a solar umbrella, which I find very important on trail myself. We have a sleep system. So Katabatic Gear is going to be providing a quilt. For our pack sponsor, we have Gossamer Gear and Symbiosis Gear. Gossamer Gear is going to provide 2 different options, and Symbiosis Gear specifically makes packs made for women. Food storage and bear safety sponsor is Bear Vault, and they're going to give a selection. You can choose the size Bear Vault that you want. So if you're going on a slightly shorter hike, you might want to take the smaller one. But if you're doing a really long distance hike, but perhaps the entire PCT or CDT, you might want to grab that BV 500. Our water filtration sponsor is Sawyer. They're providing the Sawyer squeeze system, and actually they're also going to provide insect repellent products for you. The trekking pole sponsor is actually Lecky. I have to fix that the description down there, but they'll be providing trekking poles to help you stay balanced on trail. Our clothing sponsors are Jolly Gear and Purple Adventure Rain Skirts. So you'll be getting a gift card to Jolly Gear for a product of your choice, and either a kilt or a skirt from Purple Rain Skirts. They're really comfortable to hike in. Our navigation sponsor is Far Out, and they're providing a 1 year unlimited subscription for any trails that you want for the year. And this is an app on your phone that will help you navigate the trail of your choice. Our food sponsor is Backpackers Pantry, and they're providing 6 meals. And finally, for sanitary purposes, we've got the sponsor Cooler Cloth. They have these amazing pea cloths to help you stay, to help with your hygiene on trail. And they come in all sorts of really fun designs. Cool. So last year, this is the 4 folks that actually were the recipients of our scholarship. And today we actually have Hannah Chingarande and Cameron Shropshire here to talk about their experiences on trail. Really, really excited. Thank you so much, both of you, for coming and being willing to share. I know you both came to the gathering this year, and you kind of gave a presentation there as well and shared some of these photos with us about your trail experiences. So we're really excited to have you share more with us here today and maybe inspire some of our 2025 panelists about what they're applying for. And that's all for me. I'm going to switch it over to Snorkel Treeline Review to take it from here.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Liz Snorkel Thomas. I'm the co-founder of Treeline Review, and I will be interviewing Hannah and Cameron today on their experiences on their through hike. Our goal at Treeline Review is to create welcoming and inclusive gear reviews. We want everyone to feel comfortable and empowered in the outdoors, and part of that is letting people tell their own stories of their experiences being in nature. So what I'm going to do is bring on Cameron and Hannah and let them tell us a little bit about their trip.
Hi, my name is Hannah. I'm originally from, Utah area, and I decided that I wanted to embark on the Colorado Trail. I think it was like last a spring or winter or two ago. So hiked the Colorado Trail this past summer. Took me 29 days. I was fortunate enough to receive a scholarship from the Aldo West Foundation that largely supported my journey on that trail. And yeah.
Thank you so much, Hannah. Cameron, do you want to tell us a little bit about where you're from and what trail you hiked this summer?
Hi, everybody. Cameron Shropshire. So I'm originally from Akron, Ohio, but Colorado's been my home for nearly 20 years. So love it out here. So naturally, I had to get on the Colorado Trail. So it was great knowing that Hannah was out there as well. So it was a lot of time and effort put into making it all come to fruition. So it was a very, very exciting and very excited to share about it.
Thanks so much, Cameron. So, one of the things that is the first question, I think, besides like your name on the scholarship application, is about your connection to nature. Since you're on the screen, Cameron, do you want to tell me a little bit about your really interesting connection to nature and the time that you spent outdoors, even before you went to go hike the Colorado Trail?
Yeah. So in my free time, my volunteer time, I'm an emergency medical responder with search and rescue. So I spend a lot of time just hiking and sometimes running in the woods. We're trying to help people who are having a bad day have a better day if we can help. So it's lots of time just being out there in nature. But growing up, my parents, my dad took us camping constantly all the time in Ohio. So it was, we were already kind of close and familiar, and then I have a lot of family the Navajo reservation. So again, we spend a lot of time out in nature. So it's really something that I find a lot of peace and happiness in.
That's awesome. Hannah, do you want to tell us a little bit about your connection to nature?
Yeah, so a little bit about me is like both of my parents are from Africa, Zimbabwe, and so the way that nature is perceived is just different from the way that we perceive it here in the United States. I think that in Africa it's looked at more as a resource than it is for enjoyment, because it's where my mother lived all of her life, like outside. And so I think that growing up, I didn't really have the idea of what nature could do for you, like and then when I was about 15, I had met someone who was very special to me now. And at the time I lived in Las Vegas, and took me out to like Red Rocks to go hiking. We just hiked on the rocks there, and To me, it was just such a magnificent experience. It was something that I had never understood or known before. And the serenity and peace that I felt from a very chaotic journey of life I have had kind of growing up was like unlike anything that I've ever experienced in my life. And ever since then I've used it as my my like my genuine and like form of like therapy. It's that dopamine release that I get from being outside is like no other.
Yeah, I think that's really well said. And I mean, I think nature, yeah, it's the dopamines. It can be so healing and super fun. I guess you talked a little bit about this, Hannah, but how did you first learn about through hiking, long distance backpacking? And when was sort of that aha moment when you're like, I want to do this?
Well, at that my very first interaction of through hiking is I saw this video, like this documentary on, YouTube, and it was of this woman from New Zealand. I'm forgetting her name, Elena Osborne, and she documented such a beautiful experience that she had while journeying through the PCT. And I was, very inspired by it at first. And I was like, is that something that I could like imagining to see if it's something that I could ever do? And, optimistically, I'm like, yeah, maybe like that seems really fun. And then, I did have like someone who was my partner at the time who hiked the Pacific Crest Trail, who was just a really big inspiration for me. And seeing them partake, like just kind of go through that journey, and how hard it, just kind of reading their journals and seeing how hard some days were was just like really inspiring. Like I have experienced adversity, but there's just a different adversity when you are, when you just have the elements around you and yourself. It's just a different kind of adversity that I find really beautiful.
Oh, that's really touching. Cameron, what about you? I imagine with YouTube, where you first learned about through hiking and decided that was what you wanted to do, or was it something else?
I came about it from a really random way almost. Feels like I have a lot of friends who are ultra marathoners and long distance runners, and I had in a I had a friend who went for the running the fastest known time on the Colorado Trail. So it was kind of that's where I kind of learned about what the trail was, and so I started really looking online at different um, documentaries and people who had done it before from the running perspective. So I was really looking at it, from runners, but then really finding out more about the hiking community and what that looks like. And it was just super inspiring just to see that there are so many people out there who are just kind of venturing out solo and doing these amazing journeys by themselves. So it was just something like I hope that I could do one day. So I set for years. It was like I hope I can do this one day.
That's so awesome. So you knew you wanted to go on through hike. You found out about the scholarship and applied. What did you do? What did your family, the people in your life think when you're like, hey, I applied for this scholarship to go hike hike in the mountains for more than a month?
My family has always kind of questioned my sanity sometimes, just with the work the stories I hear from my first responder work and some of the interesting situations we get into, and then I'm saying, oh, I'm going to go hike for weeks alone by myself on a trail and be somewhat self-sustaining, and I'm going to be out of contact for a while. So it's just I think it was a lot for them to comprehend and understand, but they found a way to be supportive, even though they were like, "Are you okay? Why are you doing this, doing these things?" So
Hannah, what about you? What did the people in your life think when you told them that you'd applied for this scholarship and were really wanted to go on long distance hike in the Colorado Trail?
Yeah, I think that I was adopted at a late age, but my mother from, was very surprised, like, are you really, are you real, are you sure about like committing to this long distance? And I said yes. And after I kind of explained to her why I wanted to do it, she was like, yeah, I know that you can do anything that you set your mind to. And that was all the more motivation that I needed, all the more confirmation that I knew that I needed to be on trail, you know and go through that journey.
Oh, that's so touching. Yeah, when I went out my first through hike, even now, my family is like, "What are you doing? That seems really scary. Are you going alone?" It's like, "Yes, I've done this before." But yeah, for people who haven't been on a long distance hike before, what this sounds a little out there. So I'm glad you're here to tell the story, and hopefully the people who are in the audience can be like, "Oh yeah, there's people who do this. This is a well, I wouldn't quite say it's a normal part of life, but it's a thing that people do."
Yeah. As I got
Um,
to know Hannah more, I got even more inspired. Just hearing kind of her story. She just said, "I'm going to do this trail and I'm going to uproot my life and I'm just going to go." I'm like, I think that's just amazing. So I was super kind of awed by that. I was like, I'm going to do it. So
That's so awesome. All right. So you got the scholarship, you're getting ready to go. What were you the most worried about before you started the trail? And what sort of challenges did you anticipate as you were planning? What kind of scared or worried you the most?
So I think my biggest fear and concern was mechanical injury for lots of reasons, especially through the first couple segments of the Colorado Trail, because I knew that my search and rescue team covered that area, and I would just hate to have to call my team members out to come and rescue me. So I was like, I just gotta make sure I can stay safe until I can get out of our area, but just really, trying to stay safe, across the whole trip. Just be the unknown elements and just hoping to be prepared throughout the journey. So there's lots of unknowns when you're doing it for the first time. You just hope that you've done enough research and preparation.
Yeah, I think that's well said. That's one of the things that I find kind of tricky about going your first through hike is you don't know what you don't know. So really, the more people you can talk to and hear about their experiences, sort of the better it kind of prepares you for just getting thrown in the deep end. Hannah, what about you? What were you sort of worried or concerned about or scared? What challenges did you anticipate before you started your hike?
Totally. Great question. So I think that, I felt really confident physically. I've been training that whole summer in the Colorado mountains to partake in my journey of the Colorado Trail. I think that something that I worried about is like, I'm a very social person and I just love chatting and just getting to know people, and so I guess I was just worried about like, not, like obviously there are not a lot of people who are like, who look, I don't want to like make myself any different than anyone else, but, I'm like, unique in that like I'm a person of color and there's not a lot of people of color that I saw on trail. So I was just worried about like maybe not making friends or not not kind of feeling like as united with people on trail, but I found that was like quite the opposite. And another thing I think that I was afraid of is like I'd never did food carries, like carrying food for a week at a time, and then going to another town and like buying, getting more food. I decided that I wanted to wing it and not do any food supply drops. I just decided I'm just going to like get food as I go. And so there were some times that were really hard and scary, and like water I was worried about as well. So, but mainly just like the social component of it, because I do find myself to be a really social person, but I think that I found some of my lifelong friends on that trail. So some people
Yeah,
that I mean the world to me.
yeah. Hannah, do you want to talk a little bit about the concept of tramily? And it sounds like maybe some of your tramily members are here cheering you on.
Yes, Elderberry is one of them. She's here. And someone I met on Kenosha Pass. It's amazing. Like day one. I remember I finished segment one of the Colorado Trail and I hit South Platte River and I had met someone named Pie Top and then I'd met Charcuterie. And at the time, we just decided like it was natural just to be hiking together. But eventually, I kind of started hiking a little like faster. That like I started kind of upping my pace, and I eventually met these wonderful people. Her name is I'm forgetting her. Like Madeline is her name. Her pickle, and Deals. I met so many people, like five, and then they live here in Colorado, and most of them live here in Colorado, and one I'm flying to Helena for like a ski trip to go and see. And so these are people that like despite only spending maybe like a week or two with them, like I know that these people are gonna be my forever people. And going through some really hard and challenging moments, like no like really heavy water carries and just really hard days just made us so much more bonded as a team and family. And it's something just really special. People that are like that feel super close to you, but like not bonded by blood. And you figure out like they come from such different walks of life, and then somehow on this one trail you find them. It's pretty spectacular. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, the trail family, the tramily is really something that when I went on my first through hike, I thought, oh, it's going to be super lonely. I'm not going to see anyone. It's just going to be me in the mountain. And the people are really what makes the trip. Now, I have a question for Cameron. How do you plan for a hike with all of your life circumstances? I know you're a dad, negotiating with family, taking time off to go on a hike. How did you manage all of that before you went on the Colorado Trail?
Yeah, so it was about a year's worth of planning even before the scholarship came out. It was really like I'm just going to start putting this into motion. So I know a year from now I want to make this happen. There was a lot of, again, trying to figure out the life situation with the family and how to navigate that, because I take the kids to and from school in between my work and other things, and just kind of making sure that we can make all the schedules work for the family, um, and then taking time away from work, just with the work I do during the day can definitely be challenging to get away for extended periods of time. So it was a lot of figuring out those logistics. I think it was extremely challenging, but it's absolutely doable.
Yeah, that's super inspiring. And I think, a lot of those times, those logistics about life are what even stop people from even sitting down and dreaming and kind of planning. So I really appreciate that you shared your story of like, hey, I have kids and I made this happen. That's really inspiring.
So I think, yeah, if anyone is questioning if they can do it, I think if you can find, you can find your support, your family, your support there that can help you, you can absolutely get on the trail and reach your goal.
So awesome. Now, one thing we talked about is, did anything about you said you were planning for a year ahead of time. Did anything about your planning change after you got on the trail? What happened and how did it all work out for you?
Oh, I had uh, after segment 1 and segment 2, I had a shoe mishap. So I had to call my wife and say, I need you to meet me at the end of this trail, and I'll be there in about 6 hours. And I need you to bring these shoes, because if you don't bring me these shoes, I'm not going to be able to continue my journey. So that was kind of I'm glad it happened early on when I still had some service. But yeah, that definitely threw me for a loop when that happened, for sure.
What about you, Hannah? Was there anything that sounded like you had a lot of planning that you did ahead of time too? Isn't there anything that was different once you got on trail than when you sat down with your spreadsheet? I mean, I know you're an engineer, so there was probably some spreadsheets involved in your planning.
A little bit, like with my weight and stuff, for sure. When I was very precise about wanting to keep it under 10 pounds, but um I think that mm, I think that the journey, just kind of wanting to make sure, like, with my phone, making sure I have enough charge, like, with far out. I mean, the trail is pretty straightforward, but there are some turns that, if I didn't have my phone, I would, if I was just talking, and I could have maybe easily gotten lost. So just that. And with wildlife, a lot of people told me that I needed to carry like a sack to hang from a tree, or I needed to carry a bear, box. But I slept with my food, and I felt like I was just fine doing that on the Colorado Trail. Just the Colorado Trail. I don't know if I do it. I'm like, in Yosemite or Kings Canyon, but
And just to clarify, Far Out is a phone navigation app, and they're actually one of our sponsors. So recipients will receive a Far Out app to their trail. And I think there's actually a few people from Far Out who are on here today. All right. So I have another question. Both of you came to the Gathering, which is the American Long Distance Hiking Association West sort of end of the year event. Can you tell us a little bit about what that experience was like for you?
It was it was kind of terrifying at first. I knew I was excited to finally meet Hannah and Mr. President in person. So that was kind of, I was looking forward to that. But I was like, I'm going into this uh, place I've never been before around people I don't know, and I can be sometimes extremely introverted and get exhausted by lots of interactions. And within the first day, I'm like, well, I found my people that I didn't really know were my people before today, and they're people who have similar interests in me and are also introverted. And it was lots of people that developed lots of lasting relationships with. So I was super excited. I'm definitely looking forward to doing it again.
I will say that my time at the gathering was just nothing but inspiring. Like I was just so inspired. First of all, I'm so happy that I got to meet you, Snorkel. I got to meet Miss Info. I got to meet, Naomi, Mr. President was like that was an amazing interaction. And then so, I got to meet All Good too, which was amazing, like also so great, like such great connections I got to meet. And so, I thought that I thought like, wow, I've accomplished a lot being like, hiking the Colorado Trail, but then going to this event and then hearing people talk about the Hexatrek and hearing um another person, talk about their journey hiking through the Grand Canyon and what a choose your own adventure path that he took was just so inspiring. And, it kind of inspired me that like, yeah, like number one, like the, PCT, AT, all of these established trails are great, but then there's so much more of this world that we have yet to explore. And then another thing, like, yeah, there's a lot of things outside of the United States that like I would love to through hike, that were just amazing and really inspiring. And there's just a lot of people there, like All Good, he kind of manages Six Moons End Design, and the tent that I used throughout my journey of the CT, I just got to talk about how amazing it was and just talk about all these products that I used and just new products. I've never known about lightweight or like the gear that I used on trail until I used it when I was on the Colorado Trail. And so just being amongst such great people of inspiration was just it was just very nourishing for me. I loved it.
Oh, that's
Everybody was so extremely welcoming and supportive, and there was no questions that you couldn't ask, and then you didn't feel uncomfortable. You didn't feel uncomfortable asking, and it was a really good opportunity to really push your boundaries and learn. And as Hannah mentioned, I had no idea either about gear that was specifically for hikers, because I went on some just on some other hikes, and I've just been in pain and nothing seemed like it fit right. And I'm like, I didn't realize there were ultralight tents and ultralight quilts, from like Katabatic. I mean, those quilts are amazing, for warmth.
Yeah, that's a great segue, Cameron. One of the questions I have for both of you: what are some of the biggest benefits of receiving the scholarship for you? It sounds like the gear was definitely not just having the gear, but getting introduced to different types of gear that maybe weren't on your radar before was a huge benefit.
The gear, but also the connection to other seasoned veteran long distance hikers, and who could really help guide you and get you prepared. Like for me, was diet was a huge concern for me. I'm a keto vegetarian, and so just kind of knowing that I don't have a whole lot in the reserves all the times, really figuring out kind of how I can have a sustainable diet and hike for hours and hours at a time. So I think just with Mr. President made those additional connections for us beyond just the gear. And I think everyone with the gear, the sponsors, they reached out to us all as well. Really encouraged us along the trail as well. So they were more than just sponsors; they were support systems as well.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Hannah, what about you? What were some of the benefits of the scholarship for you?
Thank you. Yeah. So at the time I was just kind of finishing up, I just kind of finished my like my second to last semester of like university. And so at the time like I had not been working, I just been like solely focusing on my study since I was like kind of I had a full plate kind of at the time. And so come like spring, I decided to move to Colorado, work a little bit, but that supplemental money that I got, the funding that I got from Aldo West like really allowed me to like be on trail and not have to worry about like, do I need to get off because I can't afford to go any further. Like I won't be able to afford my food. You know, I was able to keep going. And I think moreover, you know, having the kind of gear that I had just made it so that I could travel very far, like super far, right? Like I was carrying a pretty light pack, and you know, I can't thank Catabatic gear is like a sleeping bag that I used throughout the journey, and you know, just made my journey on trail like so comfortable. I've never that was my first that's my first down sleeping bag ever in my life, and I loved it like with my whole heart. And so and I think also just like Cameron said, it kind of opened up the opportunity for me to meet people within the through hiking community, as this is a very hard, I feel, kind of recreational activity to really break into. Like the tents that, you know, that sleeping bag that I got through the scholarship is very expensive. Sleep, you know, the tents that people have on this trail, like $1,000 easily, you know, and so, you know, to be able to like, you know, be on the trail comfortably and feel like I fit in with the gear that I had, meant a lot. And so it did a lot for me, not only for my physical journey throughout the trail, but also nourished my being in such a beautiful, yeah, it just nourished my being, just being around people that had the heart that I feel like I have too, you know.
Yeah, I agree completely. And you know, having the right gear can really Cameron was talking earlier about how he had backpacked before, but he'd never backpacked with a pack that was really comfortable. And what a big difference that makes. And you know, with a sleeping quilt, being warm enough at night makes such a huge difference for feeling better. I think
Yeah.
also the advantages of being part of this community, whether you get the scholarship or not, is this sort of you know, like there's people who will help bring you to the trailhead. They'll come meet you at road crossings and bring you food. So it's really a very tight-knit community, and that's one of the things that's really the best. All right. So my last question for you before we hop into the Q&A is, what's one piece of advice you have for future through hikers, people who might be on this listening in, who are interested in going on a hike, whether they get the scholarship or not? What would you tell folks to do?
I would love to answer that question if I can, Cameron.
Yes.
Okay. Um, I'll just say that there was a really hard section of the Colorado Trail for me. It was where I had 20 miles of no sun cover. Um, and I remember like just being by myself, and I I felt I like threw my whole body to the ground. I just started crying. And you know, I met somebody who like was like, "Oh my gosh, like are you Hannah? I've seen your post on the Colorado 2024 through hiking page. Like, you're such an inspiration. The mileage that you're making is so cool, like amazing. You inspire me so much." He was an old, you know, and like you know, an older gentleman, also a crusher himself. And, you know, I was my tears streaming down my face. I was like, at a very low point in my journey throughout the CT, I think I don't remember how many miles I had done at the time, maybe 3 or like 2 or 300. And he just thought like he just instilled in me that I have the resilience to do this. And though today is a really, really hard day and there's a thunderstorm right behind me, you know, I just need to run, get my tent set up, sleep, and wake up to a new day. And in all of that, I just, you know, whoever is embarking on any through hiking journey, I just want to tell you to keep going. Like, of course you're going to have a hard day. Take the rest that you need, but I promise you, you have the resilience within your whole being to keep going.
That's so touching. Yeah, I completely agree. Cameron, do you have any parting words, advice for future through hikers?
Hannah put it beautifully, and like I said, we definitely similar experiences on that Colorado trail. I had 20 miles of rain, and
Oh, not sun. It was rain
it
that.
was rough. And there was one day I was hiking, and this young lady walked up next to me, and she just started talking to me. And we just walked and we talked for miles. Her name happens to be Pickles, So Hannah and we both met the same person on the trail, and both kind of lifted our spirits. So I think it's just kind of being able to know that you can accomplish this, and know that there are people out there that you don't know that are going to be on that trail help you out. They're trail agents for a reason. And they didn't even know, this person didn't even know it at the time, but they got me out of a real rough spot that I was in, mentally. I was like, I'm feeling done. And it was just kind of that power of that conversation was huge. So
Yeah, I mean, the thing about through hiking is sometimes you're at your highest highs and some of your lowest lows, or at least it feels
mhm,
like in the moment, and they can happen all within the span of an hour. And
mhm.
I think one of the things that I get out of through hiking, I wonder if this is true for you too, Cameron, is I feel like I come out of it a better person. Do you think that through hiking has changed you in any way?
Changed me for the better. I felt like lots of stress I was carrying on my shoulders, I was able to, release in nature and just kind of, come back and feeling, rested and renewed. And, it was a powerful experience beyond just the accomplishment of being out there hiking. I mean, everyone's going to leave their trail a different person.
Yeah, I agree. Hannah, do you think through hiking changed you at all?
I think it changed me in such a beautiful way, and that, like, yeah, I want to, I want to live. It's changed my way of the way that I want to live my life. Yes. Yeah, I think, yeah, I got a degree in, like, civil engineering, but I think that, like, um, I want to live to inspire, to receive inspiration, to, like, I want a reciprocal, like, relationship of inspiration with the people that I interact with. That inspired me, that, like, I can connect very deeply with someone, that they understand, they see not me, like, here, like, in front of them, but they're like looking into my heart. And it's made me understand that, like, I can find people who are like me, and who understand the world like I do, and have like compassion, and, like, this beautiful, like, infinite pool of love for people. And so I just, it's changed me for sure. Yeah. No, no words.
Oh, that's so wonderful. Well, at this point, if the audience has any questions, I would encourage you to drop it in the Q&A. And while those questions are coming in, I have another question for both of you. When you were out there on the trail, is there any item you found that you could not live without, you could not live without? You really, really maybe wasn't something that you initially thought you needed, but you really were like, wow, this makes such a huge difference.
I've got a couple. Let me just say three. Number one, my sleeping bag. I never had a cold day on trail. I had a Catabatic Gear sleeping bag, and I literally love it with my whole heart. Two is my Sawyer Squeeze. I previously had the Sawyer Mini, and the Sawyer Mini was just a pain to just kind of get water out. But having the Sawyer Squeeze, I just was able to just have water, like, instantly. And then three would be, like, there's, like, this microbial towel that I got that was reusable for women. I don't really remember the brand, but I, like, used it literally all the time. While I was, my month on trail. It was just really nice, because there were I spent weeks without having a shower. So it was just really nice to kind of freshen up and feel a little cleaner than, like, not having to have it. So I feel like some, people who are, like, would understand. So, but yes.
That's great. What about you, Cameron? Any essential pieces of gear?
For me, definitely, the tent from Six Moons. I'd never had something so light and felt so safe. So it was amazing. Definitely, the Sawyer Squeeze. You definitely learn to appreciate water when you had it along the trail. And then something unique that I didn't think I would need until I put it on and I hiked in it was a big shout out to Purple Rain. I had a huge section of trail that there was no shade whatsoever, and I was able to just kind of dress a little lighter and be a little more comfortable, and it made the day much more bearable when you're hiking with no shade in the heat. So
Yeah, I agree. For those unfamiliar, Purple Rain is one of the sponsors and makes a hiking skirt or a hiking kilt. I also hike in a Purple Rain skirt. Big fan of the pockets. we had a question from the audience. We heard a little bit about some of your lowest lows. What are some of your highest highs?
For me, it was actually, I was able to help someone who was having a really bad low. Um, I could, I was hiking, and again, this really exposed section, I came across this person who was just kind of laid out, and it kind of my search and rescue training went into gear, and I could tell they were experiencing some heat exhaustion, and and I was sitting there, and I took their vitals. I sat and talked with them, and I gave them, gave them some hydration, and they told me kind of what they were doing, and they had been, also partaking in some of the Colorado recreational, items available. So they were just kind of, they were having a bad, challenging time at that moment. So I was able to sit with them and, help get them up and moving again. So that was kind of, me, being able to help them kind of was a high, so they were able to continue on the trail eventually. And, I was able to, meet someone new and provide some support. So I think that was, it was a good opportunity for me.
Thanks for sharing that story, Cameron. And one thing we had talked about earlier before everyone came into the room is that you're a little bit of an introvert. So as opposed to Hannah, who was making all sorts of friends, how did you sort of manage that when you were on the trail? Do you feel like there were too many people? Did you feel like you got enough alone time?
I told myself I was going to push myself out of my comfort zone, and I was going to meet as many people as I could. And I just kind of, along the way, just continued to meet people, and I'd look at the gear that they had, and I was taking photos and asking questions, and, you know, camp next to some folks. And so it was just a really good opportunity again, just kind of, I'm going to come back off the trail a different person. Sometimes you got to push yourself beyond your comfort zone to do that. So I was glad I did it. And
That's great. Hannah, what about your highest highs?
I would say just kind of, there was a day where I decided I wanted to push through that really dry and hot section. And, part of the reason why I felt like I was a little suffering a little bit is because I did like 30 miles that day, like decided to wake up really early and do 30 miles and push on just a really dry section. And so, kind of at the end of that day, despite like kind of ending on a thunderstorm and like a whole bag of like, although high was there, like ending on a whole bag of like gummy worms to eat in my tent, is that I so fascinated with what my body could do. And then I woke up the next morning and to feel like, I wasn't feeling like 110% refreshed, right? I've been hiking every single day for 25 miles. Like I wasn't feeling like I do like today, but I was able to get up and I was able to put one foot in front of the other and then do another 20 miles. And then I was able to do it the next day as well. And it's just seeing how resilient our bodies are and how much we can really push ourselves to do. Um, if not only with our physical beings, but just with our minds, right? It's also something that we have to balance within and mentally, and to kind of push through that and have um the resilience to go through that is difficult, but I was just very in awe with like just the human body in general.
It,
So that was
it,
my high.
it's so empowering on a trail to see what our bodies can do. And I think, along those lines, that's a really great segue for another question we have. At what point do you, when things are hurting, when you're uncomfortable, should you call it quits versus keep fighting through whatever discomfort or minor injuries you have? And I realize this is different for every single person. There's not one sort of solution that works for everyone, especially, if something serious and medical is going on, that definitely is probably a sign to get off trail. But for you, how did you sort of thread the needle of discomfort that sometimes happens when on trail and continuing to go on? Oh, that's for you, Hannah. Although Cameron, I'm sure you have thoughts too as search and
Yeah.
rescue.
Yeah, so there were times like I think the major thing for me was like my hips, toward the end just were hurting, and I love I loved my pack. I think that it was just an adjustment for me, and I think that I just I like made sure to like take really great care of my body, so I did a lot of stretching, and I didn't do a lot of 0 days where I took a lot of rest. I just kept going, and I felt good enough to keep going. But I would say like just kind of listening to your body, like stretching, like taking your pack off, stretching, taking breaks, right? Um, just if you need to like to go into town and then like ice something, to do that. But it is a really fine balance between, knowing when you need to kind of get off trail, for like a couple of months versus like, a couple days, or, oh, is this pain, does this pain feel temporary? Is there something that I can do in the short term to relieve myself of this pain, right? And so for me, I was able to manage it by stretching and just listening to my body and drinking lots of water, and like internally just having the idea to trust my body as well. You want to trust your body to do what you're asking it to do, and I think that really helps, like to keep going, is trusting your body.
I agree. Cameron, what about you? How do you thread that line of discomfort, and especially, as search and rescue, you've probably seen a lot of injuries. How do you make sure that you don't become when you're out on these trails, become one of those injuries?
Like as Hannah mentioned, you definitely have to trust your body, but I think it's also having that mental balance as well, so that that positive mental attitude goes a long way, especially when things are getting rough and you can get alone, you can get in your head, and I think just being able to find a way to get through that and continue on. But definitely, if you need to stop, you gotta allow yourself to stop, because I mean it's a journey. It's not you're only racing against yourself, so you can get there as fast as you need to. And for me, when I was out there, I knew the minute I got off the trail, I was having to go in for surgery. So I was kind of really mindful of my whole journey of like, I got to make sure I don't overdo it on any given day, just knowing that I want to make sure I can accomplish my goal. So yeah, a lot of just being mindful of yourself and knowing yourself, and again, knowing when it's okay to stop and take a break or hop off trail or take a zero if you need it.
What motivates you on a hard day?
Um, Besides my two girls, there's this organization that I work with called SOAR. It's Seeing Our Adolescents Rise, and there are all these young youth who are having trouble with having trouble with their mental health and being successful in school. So there's this mentorship component involved, and they're getting different ways of getting support for their mental health so that they can be successful students in life. So I think just kind of working with them and knowing that they were, rooting me on, and I think it was huge just to know that I could come back and I could share that story with them, and it could, help them along their journey. So they kind of helped me, on those rough days. I could pull out some photos on my phone from events, or just be mindful of that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, we're at the end of the hour, so I want to ask both of you, do you have any plans for future through hikes, any future trail volunteer work? Where do you think the future is going to go for you?
Yeah, so great that you asked that question. I live in Colorado now and in Denver, and the Colorado Trail Foundation just released their trail volunteer list, like which section you want to hike, like, or maintain. So I plan on maintaining a section with one of my trail family members, Songbird, who also lives in the area. And then there's tons. Like I really want to do the JMT, and then I have aspirations to go to, I'd love to go like to Europe and do like the Hexa Trek and hike through the Pyrenees there. So I think that'd be cool to do a couple 100 kilometers or miles there. So
That sounds awesome, and congratulations on adopting a section of the Colorado Trail to volunteer. That's fantastic.
So
What
the
about
volunteering is absolutely important. We do a lot of trails kind of in my local area to help maintain those. And I love giving people rides to the trailhead. So if anyone's hiking the CT, let me know. I'll certainly come pick you up and get you squared away before you hop on the trail. So this summer, I'm planning to start the Continental Divide. So I've already let my bosses and everyone know, and kind of the family and I were trying to get it squared away. But I'm hoping to at least get from the Mexico border into the U.S. border, as far as I can. But I'm looking at putting some solid time in on there this year.
That's so cool. That's great news. Well, thank you so much, Cameron and Hannah, for joining us and sharing about your journey on the Colorado Trail. This was super fun to hear your story. I'm feeling inspired. And I hope everyone who listened in is also feeling really inspired. And if you have questions about the applications, I think Mr. President left a note. You can send an email directly to All the West if you have any questions. We really are looking forward to reading everyone's applications. And thanks again for everyone joining us tonight.